friends, my name is Anoosha Syed and I'm a picture book author and illustrator. I have made many videos in the past on how I illustrate my books, how to start your illustration career, and the business side of the industry. However, I realized that there aren't a lot of resources out there for people who are completely new to picture books that go over the absolute basics that you need to know. So I'm starting a very new series called Picture Book Basics. Instead of my usual hour-long guides, these are going to be much shorter videos that go through every tiny step of the publishing world. In this video, we're talking about the types of children illustration categories that you can work in. When you're talking about illustration within the children's publishing industry, you're going to be looking at 5 possible categories of illustration: picture books, board books, early readers, chapter books, graphic novels, and covers. These are all different types of books and areas of illustrations that you could potentially work in. Each of these are distinct mainly because of page count and who their audience and age group is, but there are many differences and similarities between them. It's helpful to learn about these categories because although some illustrators are flexible and can illustrate work from all 5 categories, most illustrators will stick to just 1 or 2 depending on their strengths, weaknesses, and personal preferences. You might find that your art style is more successful in a certain category, like maybe your style is perfect for cover art, but maybe a little bit too mature for picture books. Or you'll learn that there are certain categories that you are just more drawn to, and that there are some that you just don't like doing at all. For example, I have worked in all 6 of these categories, but these days I focus mostly on picture books and board books since that's just what I enjoy the most. With this information in this video, you can then focus your portfolio on the area of illustration that you are the strongest in, instead of wasting time on ones that you're not really passionate about. I do see a lot of guides around that say that you have to include cover art or black and white spots, etc. into your portfolio, but if you're just not suited for it, then what's the point? Remember, art directors will hire you based on the examples in your portfolio, and you always want to make sure that it is comprised of your very best work in the area that you are passionate about and that you actually want to work in. Now let's look at each category in detail. Picture books. Picture books are books with mostly illustrations and are designed to be read aloud with children. The word count is usually going to be around 500 words max, but this can vary wildly from book to book. You might pick up one book with 1,000 words and another one that only has 150. Non-fiction picture books will usually be on the higher end of the word count because they are targeted at older readers and have more information to convey. Interestingly, word count has also been decreasing in the past few years, so we might even start to see 300 words as the average soon. The age range is going to be 2 to 8 years old, and the stories will become more complex as you go up in age. For example, my book, That's Not My Name, is targeted to kids who are 3 to 5 years old, and it has very simple text and concepts following a simple storyline with a moral at the end. My book, Rise Up and Write It, in contrast, is targeted to ages 4 to 8, and it has a higher word count and deals with much more complex topics like environmentalism and government. It also has a fun novelty aspect with these envelope pages that have fun surprises inside, like letters and stickers. Picture books are generally going to have 32 pages. This includes the title page, end papers, and copyright. But they can come in any page count that are multiples of 8. So for example, 16, 24, 32, 40, or 48 pages. This is because of how the books are printed and assembled, but that's a topic for another video. Picture books can be a team effort written by an author and illustrated by a separate artist, or they can be created by a single author illustrator. Board books. Board books are books filled with mostly illustrations with very minimal text. These are called board books because they are made of paperboard. These are much sturdier books with thick paper and rounded edges because this target audience is going to be babies and toddlers from ages 0 to 5 years old. Board books are designed to be read aloud because this target audience cannot read, but they're also easy for babies to hold on to, turn pages, and develop hand-eye coordination and fine motor skills. The subject matter in these books will be very simple and cover topics like shapes, colors, and numbers. A lot of board books will have a fun novelty aspect to them for brain stimulation, so you'll find fun interactive elements like lift the flap, sound buttons, die cuts, and textures to play with. You will see a much lower page count here. These board books are usually between 8 to 12 spreads or 16 to 24 pages. However, sometimes you will find board books that are 32 pages long. This is usually when a picture book is adapted into a board book format afterwards. Board books will have a word count of less than 300, and sometimes completely wordless depending on the book. Because of how expensive it is to produce a board book and how small the profit margin is, in most cases a board book will be written by the in-house publishing team or by an author illustrator. Early readers are a kid's first introduction to chapter books for ages 4 to 8 years old, and they are a bridge between picture books and chapter books. These are around 1,500 words max and around 32 to 60 pages for kids who are just starting to learn how to read. Early readers will usually have strict guidelines on the vocabulary, sentence structure that is used in these books, and these books can even be labeled and targeted towards specific age groups. The I Can Read book series is a great example of this, and they have a little number that indicates what level the book is for. Early readers usually come in the form of series with repetitive storylines, or they might be based off of movies and TV shows that the kids will recognize. While they look similar to chapter books, they are quite short and are heavily illustrated. You will see a combination of spots, spreads, and single-page illustrations in full color. Almost every page will have some sort of illustration on it. Now we're at the big kid books. This is a huge category, and the age range can go from 6 to 12 years old. Depending on the age, the word count will be between 5,000 to 15,000 words and 100 to 180 pages. Because this is an older audience, we will see fewer illustrations now that this is a text-heavy book. For ages 6 to 9, you might still see an illustration on every other page, but this will mostly be spots and occasionally single-page illustrations. Ages 9 to 12 will have even fewer and might only have a handful of illustrations, like maybe one for each chapter. You'll notice that we are now dealing with a totally different paper quality now, and that is going to affect the kind of illustrations we'll see inside. The illustrations are now in black and white or grayscale. Sometimes you might have an additional accent color mixed in. For my Monster and Boy book series, we did a different spot color for each of the books, which was pretty fun. Once we get to an even older audience, we stop seeing illustrations inside the book because adults don't like fun, I guess. However, you might still see an illustrated cover on these books. Books targeted towards adults will sometimes have illustrated covers, but they are very common for younger audiences. Middle grade books are for ages 8 to 12, while young adult books are for ages 12 to 18. These book covers can come in a wide variety of styles depending on the age and the genre, but usually the artwork will be a bit more mature, featuring characters with realistic proportions. I love doing book cover artwork, and you can see that I do adjust my style to be a bit more mature and realistic to fit the age group. Some of these books will only be illustrated on the front, while others will have a wraparound cover. And very few books will have a handful of black and white interior illustrations. This is cheating because I think graphic novels are more like a medium than a category, but I wanted to include it anyway because graphic novels have been absolutely booming in the children's publishing space in recent years, and they are definitely another great opportunity for publishing illustrators. While a comic book tells a story over several issues, a graphic novel is usually a more complex, self-contained story and with more pages. Basically, a novel told through sequential illustration. Just like traditional books, they come in many different page lengths and word counts and styles depending on the age group. Examples of graphic novels for young kids include Dewdrop and Shark Princess. Graphic novels can have a separate author and illustrator or be created by one person. Graphic novels come in a wide variety of styles and in black and white or full color. And these are the major children's publishing categories. As you work on your illustration portfolios, do your research and read as many books as you can to get an idea of the differences, any recurring patterns that you might see, and just find out what areas that you are most suited for and what you are most drawn to. Then you can create some sample pieces that fit towards that category. Like I said, if you have the flexibility, you could find work in all 5 categories. Depending on your style, this might just need a slight tweak to better cater it to each age group. Like in my artwork, I feel like even though I adjust my style slightly, it's still recognizable as my own. But it is totally fine to drastically change it as well. Tegan White is an excellent example who is able to easily switch between a juvenile style versus one that is very dark and mature. I hope you enjoyed the very first episode of Picture Book Basics. If this video was helpful, give it a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the rest of the series. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the anatomy of a picture book and cover some basic vocabulary like what end papers and gutters and title pages are. Until then, keep on drawing and I'll see you next time.